Hello, this is Math 0018, Section 2.4. Today we're going to look at simplifying variable expressions using the distributive property and then simplifying just some general variable expressions. So the distributive property allows us to take a term on the outside and multiply it by the terms on the inside. And it also allows you to eliminate your parentheses. So if you have a times b plus c, what you're going to do is multiply a times b and then a times c. And so you distribute the a to all the terms inside the parentheses. And once that's done, if you have any like terms, you combine them if it's possible. So here's some examples, and the directions are just going to say simplify. So what you want to do is, remember your order of operations tells you to start in the parentheses. But if we look at negative 5a plus 7b, you can't combine those. They're not like terms. So we look right outside, there's a negative 3 there. So we're going to multiply that negative 3 times both of those terms. So we're going to write this out so you can see what you're doing. You're going to have negative 3 times negative 5a, and then you bring negative 3 down again, negative 3 times, and that sign tells you it's a positive 7, so you just put 7b like that. So we're multiplying those two terms like that. So a negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15a. Just bring the variable down, and then don't write the sign down, figure out your sign when you multiply. Negative 3 times 7b is going to be a negative 21b. So when you multiply, don't put the sign down until you've done your multiplication and figured out the sign of your answer. Now look at what we have, 15a minus 21b. Those are not like terms, so we're done. And notice that there are no parentheses in your final answer at all. Look at number 2. We have 3 times x squared minus x minus 5. Once again, we can't do any combining within the parentheses, so we're going to distribute the 3 to all of those terms. Okay, so we're going to have 3 times x squared, and then that's a positive 3, so that's what tells me to put a plus sign. Positive 3 times a negative x. So be careful there. It's really hard with those signs. And then another positive 3 again times the last term, negative 5. Okay, so I think it really helps if you'll write it out the first few times so that you can see what you're multiplying. So 3 times x squared is just going to be 3x squared. Now look at the next term, 3 times a negative x. So a positive times a negative is a negative, so write that minus sign, 3x. And then the last term, positive 3 times negative 5, is going to be negative 15. So if you say positive, you put a plus sign. If you say negative, you put a minus sign. It's, only two choices there. Now, 3x squared minus 3x, those are not like terms. X squared is not the same as x. So all of those three terms, 3x squared minus 3x minus 15, that whole expression there is your answer. And that's it for that one. Number 3, we're going to take negative 2 and we're going to distribute it to x squared plus 5x minus 4. So we're going to multiply it 3 times there, okay? So we have negative 2 times x squared, and once again negative 2 times 5x, and negative 2 times negative 4. So we're going to start and multiply. Negative times a positive is going to be negative 2x squared. Just bring that variable term down. Now the second term we have negative 2 times positive 5, which would be a negative 10x. And the last term, a negative times a negative, is going to be a positive, and 2 times 4 gives you positive 8. If you look at those three terms, they are not like terms, so that expression is your final answer. Now, number 4, It looks like there's really not much to do because you just have 2x minus 4 in the parentheses, but you have this negative sign out front. So what you want to remember is that there's understood to be a 1 right there in front of the parentheses. So what we're doing is we're distributing negative 1 through those two terms there. Okay, so we're going to do negative 1 times 2x and then negative 1 again times negative 4. Okay, so negative times a positive is going to be a negative 2x. Okay? And now we have a negative 1 times a negative 4. A negative times a negative is going to be a positive 4. So also, another way you can think of this problem is taking the opposite of the terms in the parentheses, because the opposite of 2x would be negative 2x, which is what we got down here, and the opposite of negative 4 would be positive 4. So you can do it either way. I think most students like to see that negative 1 and like to see that that's what they're multiplying, and that makes it a little bit easier for them. All right, let's look at number 5. We're going to have to distribute 5 through these three terms, 4x minus 2y minus z. So we're going to multiply 5 times all of those. So we have 5 times 4x, and that's a positive 5. That's how I know to put a plus sign, times negative 2y, and then a positive 5 again, times negative z. Okay, so now we multiply. 5 times 4 is 20x. 5 times negative 2 is going to be a negative 10y. And then 5 times negative z, notice how I didn't put my sign down, is going to be a negative 5z. And those are all different terms. So that expression, 20x minus 10y minus 5z, that's the answer. Now look at number 6. What's different about this one, we have x plus 7 times negative 7, is that the term that you need to distribute is on the right-hand side. That bothers a lot of people. So it's a good thing we have these handy-dandy properties to help us out. I'm going to use the commutative property of multiplication, and I'm going to put the negative 7 at the beginning and put x plus 7 at the end, because I like to distribute from left to right, because that's the way I read, and it makes it easier. So you can do that too. Or you can do it the other way. Whichever way you want to do it, who cares? It doesn't matter. So we're going to multiply negative 7 times x, and then we have negative 7 again times that positive 7. So when I multiply there, negative 7 times x, let me come up here a little bit, I'm going to get negative 7x, and then a negative 7 times a positive 7 is a negative 49. Now, those are not like terms, so that's it. That's your answer. Negative 7x minus 49. All right, so here's some for you to try. Pause the video and try these on your own. So we want to simplify. Number 1, we're going to distribute negative 8 through negative 2a plus 7b. So we're going to multiply that by both of those terms. Negative 8 times negative 2a and negative 8 again times 7b. All right, so when we multiply, a negative times a negative is a positive 16a, and then I have negative 8 times positive 7 would be negative 56b. And those are not like terms, so that's your answer. Okay, and you have to make sure you have signs in between, because that's what connects the terms together, is either a plus or minus sign. So some people leave the sign out. It's totally wrong. Let's look at number 2. We have 3 and then in parentheses 12x squared minus x plus 8. So I'm going to distribute the 3 to those three terms. So I have 3 times 12x squared. That's a positive 3 times negative x and a positive 3 times 8. Okay? So 3 times 12, they're both positive, would be 36x squared. And then 3 times negative x, notice I have not written my sign yet, a positive times a negative is a negative 3x. And then the last term, positive 3 times 8, is a positive 24. So always multiply to find out your sign before you just write any sign down. Now look at what you have left. 36x squared minus 3x plus 24. None of those are the same, so that's it. That's the end of that problem. Now, number 3 is like the one we did a few minutes ago where the number was on the opposite end and it looked kind of funny. So I'm going to scratch that 5 out and I'm going to move it over to the front so it makes it more normal at the left side of that expression. So I'm going to distribute the 5 to those two terms. So I have 5 times negative 3x, and then it's a positive 5 times a negative 6. So 5 times negative 3x is going to be negative 15x, and 5 times negative 6 would be a negative 30. And those are not like terms, so you're done. And number 4, we have 2 times 5a minus 2b plus c. So since there's no like terms in there, we're going to distribute the 2 through the parentheses. So we have 2 times 5a, and that's a positive 2 again, times negative 2b, and a positive 2 times c. So now we multiply. 2 times 5 is 10a, and 2 times negative 2 is going to be negative 4b, and then the last term, 2 times c, is going to be a positive 2c. So we have a, b, and c. None of those are the same, so that expression is your answer. Okay, so now our second objective is to simplify general variable expressions. So the main difference here, you're not doing anything new, it's just longer problems. And the only problem with a longer problem is that there's more places for you to make mistakes. So you just have to be very careful and make sure that you keep your signs straight. That's probably the biggest problem that students have, is with signs. And then also making sure that you only combine like terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to still be using the distributive property to get rid of your parentheses and any brackets, okay? And then once we have distributed, we're going to combine like terms if we have any, okay? So our first problem here, we have 2x minus 3, and then in parentheses 2x minus 7y. So what you have to do, that negative 3 is right there beside the parentheses. That's where we're going to start, is distributing negative 3 through the parentheses to eliminate those parentheses. The 2x term for now is just going to come down. We're not messing with it. So now I'm going to do the distributing. So I have negative 3 times 2x, and then is still a negative 3 times negative 7y. Okay, so I bring down the 2x. Now I have negative 3 times 2x would be negative 6x. Okay? And a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. 3 times 7 would be 21y. So now we've gotten rid of all of our parentheses, we've distributed the term. Now you want to see if you can combine like terms or not. Okay, that's your next step, is to combine like terms. So we have like terms right here, 2x minus 6x. So think about your sign rules again for addition. 2 and negative 6, you subtract and keep the sign of the larger number, would be negative 4x plus 21y. Now, those are not like terms, so that's your answer right there. Okay? Now let's look at the next one. Here we have two sets of parentheses, 7 and then parentheses x minus 2y. Close those parentheses, minus another set of parentheses, negative x minus 2y. Now, this part right here after the minus sign, that's where everybody messes up. What you're distributing on the first parentheses is a 7. No big deal. But what you're distributing on the second set of parentheses is like a negative 1 there, so you got to be careful. So you're going to distribute negative 1 to those two terms. Okay? So let's just write this all out. We're going to have 7 times x plus, because it's a positive 7, 7 times negative 2y. So I'm done with that first set of parentheses, okay? Now I go to the second set, and I have negative 1, because that's what we're distributing, times negative x, and then negative 1 again, times the second term, negative 2y. Okay, so now we go back and multiply. So 7 times x is 7x, okay? 7 times negative 2y is going to be negative 14y, because remember the signs are different, so the answer is negative. Now the next term we have a negative times a negative. Negative 1 times negative x is going to be positive 1x. Now you don't have to write the 1 there, but we're probably going to end up combining like terms, so it might be easier just to keep the 1 there for now anyway. And the last term, negative 1 times negative 2y, is going to be a positive 2y. So now we've done all the multiplication, and now we want to check for like terms. So we have 7x and 1x, and negative 14 and 2y. So if you want to write them, group them close to each other, you can. You can rearrange the order. So we have 7x plus 1x, because you bring the sign with that term, so make sure you bring the sign with the 14, negative 14y plus 2y. So now you've got x's and y's that you're going to combine together. So 7x plus 1x would be 8x, and then negative 14 plus 2, you're going to subtract and keep the sign of the bigger number, would be negative 12y, and that would be it. Okay, so did we just do 2? Yeah, okay, so here's 3 and 4. They just, ooh, look at 4. That's a pretty long one. Don't be afraid. Okay, so what we're going to do on number 3, we have 3y minus 2 and then parentheses y minus 7x. So we're going to start with that 2, that negative 2, and distribute it. So for right now, bring down 3y, and we're going to multiply negative 2 times y, and negative 2 times negative 7x. Okay? So the next step is go back and multiply. So 3y comes down. Negative 2 times y would be negative 2y. And negative 2 times negative 7x, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive 14x. Okay? Now, you have like terms on just the first two terms. 3y minus 2y, well 3 minus 2 is just 1y, okay, plus 14x. Or you could also write your answer as y plus 14x. You do not have to write the coefficient 1 in front of that y, but it is not wrong if you do. So either way is fine. It doesn't matter. All right, let's look at number 4. This one's a doozy. Let's see. We have 3y minus 2, and then in brackets, x minus 4, in parentheses, 2 minus 3y, and close the parentheses and brackets. So remember your order of operations says start with the innermost grouping symbol, which is right here with the parentheses. So I'm going to distribute the negative 4 to both of those terms. So bring down 3y, bring down the 2 minus 2, and the x inside the brackets. And what I'm going to do is negative 4 times 2, and then negative 4 times negative 3y. All of that is still in brackets. We've just distributed to get rid of that one set of parentheses. So bring down 3y minus 2, and we have x. Now we multiply in the brackets. Negative 4 times 2 would be negative 8. And negative 4 times negative 3y, that's going to be a positive 12y. Still in brackets, okay? Now, you have no like terms in those brackets. So what you're going to do now, notice that the negative 2 is right beside the brackets. It's kind of scooted away, but it's right beside the brackets. So we're going to take that negative 2 and we're going to multiply and distribute it to everything in the brackets. So bring down 3y, and just take your time. You're going to have negative 2 times x. Then negative 2 again times the next term, negative 8. and negative 2 times a positive 12y. Okay? So we have 3y has just been coming down the whole time. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Now a negative times a negative is going to be a positive 16. And negative 2 times 12y is negative 24y. Now, let's see. We have two terms that have y's in them. That's it for like terms. So we have 3y minus 24y minus 2x plus 16. So if I combine and look at these like terms, 3 and negative 24, that's going to give me negative 21y, because I have to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. Then minus 2x plus 16. And notice that the order of those terms really doesn't matter. As long as the signs are correct with each term, then you're good to go. Alright, so pause the video and try these on your own. So number 1, we want to simplify. We have 4x minus and then parentheses 3x plus 8. Remember, what do you need to put in before that parentheses? That's right, a positive 1 right there. Actually, it's going to be a negative 1, but it's a hidden 1 that you're going to distribute. So we bring down 4x, and we're going to take negative 1 and distribute it to the parentheses, to the terms in the parentheses. So I have negative 1 times 3x and negative 1 times 8. So we have 4x, and negative 1 times 3 would be negative 3x, and negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. So now you have like terms right here, and they came out next to each other, which is nice. 4x minus 3x is just 1x, or just x, minus 8. And that's it. That's your answer, x minus 8. Alright, number 2, we have two sets of parentheses, so we're going to have to distribute 2 times. We're going to take the 12 times the y and the negative 2, and 3 times the 7 and the negative 3y. So let's write that out. 12 times y, and then a positive 12 times negative 2. So that takes care of the first parentheses. Then we come over here, we have positive 3 times 7 and positive 3 times negative 3y. So we're going to do all that multiplication. Alright, so 12 times y gives you 12y. Now 12 times negative 2 is going to be negative 24. Okay? Then 3 times 7 is a positive 21. And 3 times negative 3y is going to be negative 9y. Okay? So now we've got some like terms here. We've got the 12y and the negative 9y and the two constants, negative 24 and 21. So if we rearrange them, 12y minus 9y, make sure you bring that sign, negative 24 plus 21. So 12 minus 9 is going to be 3y, and negative 24 plus 21, subtract there and keep the bigger sign, would be negative 3. And that's your answer, 3y minus 3, because you can't do anything else there. Okay, so I think, oh, 3 more. Oh my gosh, we have a bunch. What evil person did all those? Oh yeah, that would be me. Okay, so let's see. Number 3. I gave you a bunch of you tries, didn't I? Alright, so we're going to start with the parentheses, the innermost grouping symbol. Remember, that's like a negative 1 there. That is a pitiful looking 1, but that's what's there, negative 1. So we have negative 3, and in brackets 2x, and we're going to distribute negative 1. So negative 1 times x, and negative 1 times 7. Okay? Still in brackets. So we have negative 3 on the outside. So we have 2x comes down. Negative 1 times x is negative 1x. And negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. Okay? Now, we have some like terms in the brackets. So you could distribute at this point, but a lot of people screw up. So I would recommend that before you distribute that you simplify as much as possible before you distribute. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring down negative 3, and 2x minus 1x is just x, right? 2 minus 1 is 1, so 1x minus 7. So that's what's left in the brackets. So now we distribute one last time. And we're going to bring it up here, negative 3, let me just write it again, times x minus 7. So I'm going to have negative 3 times x and negative 3 times negative 7. So that's going to be a negative 3x, and a negative times a negative is a positive 21. And those are not like terms, so you're done. All right, let's look at number 4. Here, the only thing you're going to distribute is the negative 4 right beside those parentheses to those two terms. So for now, bring down 5n, and we're going to do negative 4 times 7, and negative 4 again times negative 2n. Okay? So the 5n comes down. Now, negative 4 times positive 7 is negative 28. And a negative times a negative, negative 4 times negative 2, is a positive 8n. Okay? So we have like terms here, 5n and 8n. So I'm going to write them beside each other so you can see what's going on. And put minus 28 at the end. Okay? 5n plus 8n is 13n minus 28. And that's it. Okay? So hopefully you're doing pretty good so far. We'll just check your way and see. All right, number 5, we have 7x plus 3 times x minus 4. So we're going to start with that 3 and distribute it. So 7x comes down, plus 3 times x, and a positive 3 times negative 4. So I have 7x plus 3x when I multiply there, and 3 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 12. So I write minus 12. And now our like terms are right there beside each other. 7x plus 3x is 10x minus 12. And that's it on that one. Okay? Number 6, we've got brackets and parentheses. So we're going to start with the parentheses. And what you're distributing here, see that minus sign? Remember, put in that imaginary 1 there. So bring down negative 2 and the 5. And we're going to distribute negative 1 to those two terms. So negative 1 times 3x and negative 1 times 8. And put that bracket there. Okay? So we still have negative 2 on the outside. Bring down the 5. Negative 1 times 3x is negative 3x. And negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. Okay? So now I want to combine my terms inside my brackets. So I'm going to rearrange them. 5 minus 8 minus 3x. Just so I can see the two constants there next to each other. So we still have negative 2 on the outside. Now 5 and negative 8, you have to subtract and keep the bigger sign, would be negative 3 minus 3x. Still in brackets. So now you use that distributive property again, and we're going to multiply negative 2 times negative 3, and then negative 2 times negative 3x. Okay? So a negative times a negative is a positive 6, and a negative times a negative is again positive 6, but this one has an x. So we have 6 plus 6x, and that's your answer there. All right, I think it's just 2 more. Yes, 2 more. You can do it, right? Either that or you've fallen asleep by now. Hopefully not. So wake up if you have. Okay, so here you're going to distribute a 4 and a negative 5. So distribute the 4, and we're going to distribute negative 5. So let's see, we have 4 times A plus 4 times 6B. Make sure you can tell your 6 from your B, because, oh my gosh, some people's handwriting, it's pitiful. All right, now we're going to take negative 5 times 3A and negative 5 times negative 9B. Okay, now we multiply. So 4 times A is 4A. 4 times 6B is going to be a positive 24B. And then negative 5 times 3A is negative 15A. And a negative times a negative on the last term is a positive 45B. Okay? So I have like terms with my A's and the B's. Okay? So I want to group those together. 4A, bring down negative 15A. Those are my A's. Then positive 24B and positive 45B. Okay, so we're going to combine them. 4 minus 15. We have to subtract and keep the sign of the larger number, which would be negative 11A. And then 24 plus 45, what the heck is that? 69? Yep, plus, it's a positive, 69B. And that is your answer there. Okay? And the last one. Yay! We're going to distribute the 7 times x minus y, and then eventually add on the 10x. So if we take 7 times those two terms, we're going to have 7 times x and a positive 7 times negative y plus 10x. So now we multiply. We have 7x. A positive 7 times a negative y is going to be a negative 7y, and a positive 10x. So you've got like terms here with the x's. So 7x plus 10x minus 7y. We're just grouping them together. So 7x and 10x gives you 17x minus 7y. And that is it. Now, this was a pretty long section, and it is very hard. So please, if you need to watch the video 2 or 3 times, that's great. If you need to just watch parts, the key to this section is, well, to all of math, practice, practice, practice. It will make a huge difference. And that's it for 2.4.